I was 29 when this happened, working as an administrative assistant at a mid-sized logistics company on the edge of an industrial district. The job wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills and gave me a routine I could wrap my head around. I've never been the outgoing type. I'm polite, quiet, the kind of person people describe as easy to work with. I kept to myself, finished my tasks, avoided drama. Most days felt identical, which at the time I saw as a good thing. The building itself was a large warehouse converted into office space, with high ceilings and long corridors that echoed even the smallest sound. My department was tucked away in a corner with flickering fluorescent lights and a coffee machine that groaned louder than it brewed. I usually arrived just before 8 a.m., set my backpack under the desk, and made coffee for whoever showed up early. By 8:30, the office would fill with the usual chatter: forklift scheduling issues, delivery delays, someone complaining about the air conditioning. Outside, trucks rumbled in and out of the loading bays all day, and from my desk, I could hear the metallic slam of container doors closing. It wasn't exactly cozy, but after 2 years, it felt familiar. When all of this started, it was late autumn. Cold mornings, dark evenings, the kind of weather that made the industrial area feel even more isolated. Looking back, nothing about that first morning hinted that anything was wrong. I genuinely believed it would be another normal day. That morning started like any other. I woke up to my 6:45 alarm, stared at the ceiling for a few minutes, and scrolled mindlessly through emails and headlines. I made the same breakfast I always did, toast with peanut butter and a banana, and left my apartment by 7:20 to catch the bus. The ride was its usual blend of sleepy commuters and the faint smell of diesel drifting in each time the doors opened. I had my earbuds in, but wasn't really listening to anything, just letting the noise fill the space in my head. I got to the office at 7:55. The parking lot was still mostly empty, with a few cars parked in the same predictable spots. I remember thinking how quiet everything felt. Inside, the building was cold, the way it always was before the heating kicked in. I dropped my backpack under my desk, flicked on my monitor, and went to start the coffee machine, which sputtered and groaned like it hated its job more than any of us did. By 8:15, co-workers trickled in. Melissa from accounting said good morning in her usual chipper way. Daniel sat across from me and immediately started complaining about traffic. My supervisor, Greg, walked by holding a stack of paperwork and muttering to himself. Nothing unusual. I spent the first couple hours replying to emails, entering shipment data, and answering a few calls from drivers irritated about their schedules. The warehouse noise faded into the background, like white noise I'd grown used to. At some point mid-morning, I remember thinking about what I'd make for dinner and whether I'd stop by the grocery store on my way home. Everything felt normal. Painfully, boringly normal, and I had no idea how fast that familiarity was about to unravel. It was around 11:30 when I first noticed him. I had gotten up to make another pot of coffee, the first one had burned as usual, and walked toward the break room. The hallway that led there was long and narrow, with 2 storage rooms on the left and a big window on the right that overlooked the warehouse floor. I'd made that walk 1,000 times, but halfway down the hall, I saw someone standing near the end of it. At first, I thought it was a new hire. He was facing the wall, not doing anything, just standing there. His posture looked stiff, like he'd been caught mid-thought. I slowed down a little, not wanting to startle him. "Hey man, you good?" I asked, keeping my tone friendly. He didn't turn around. He didn't react at all. I figured maybe he had earbuds in. Some people did that to escape the warehouse noise. I started walking again, planning to pass by him and head to the break room. But as I got closer, 10 feet maybe, he suddenly stepped backward, not turning, just shifting out of my way, almost mechanically, like he had been aware of me the whole time. I forced a polite smile, even though he still wasn't looking at me. I walked past him, and as I did, I noticed he wasn't wearing a visitor badge. Everyone was supposed to. Maybe he was a temp. Maybe someone forgot to issue one. It wasn't unheard of. When I came back down the hall a few minutes later, balancing the new coffee pot in my hands, he was gone. I didn't think much of it. People disappeared into the maze of the warehouse all the time. But something about the way he had moved, that automatic slide out of my path, lingered in the back of my mind longer than it should have. Long enough that, for the first time that day, I felt a small, unwelcome tug of unease. The rest of the workday moved along, but that weird hallway moment kept replaying in my head. I told myself I was overthinking it. People acted strange sometimes. Maybe he was just shy, maybe he was new, maybe he was having a bad morning. I tried to brush it off. Around 3 p.m., I went to the warehouse floor to get a signature from one of the supervisors. The warehouse was loud, colder than the office, with long aisles of pallets stacked so high they formed narrow canyons. I walked quickly, not wanting to linger in the noise and dust. Halfway across the floor, I saw him again. He stood at the end of one of the aisles, halfway hidden behind a stack of boxed appliances. This time, he was facing me, completely still, like he'd frozen mid-step. I slowed down before I could stop myself. His eyes were on me, but there was nothing curious or friendly in them. No recognition, just this fixed, unblinking stare. I raised a hand awkwardly. "Hey, you work in receiving?" No answer. He just kept staring. Before I decided whether to turn around or walk past him, a forklift beeped loudly as it turned a corner. I glanced toward the sound for a second. When I looked back, the man was gone, like he'd melted into the aisles. I stood there for a moment, feeling stupid for how fast my heart was beating. This was a big warehouse. People slipped past each other all the time. Still, something about it felt wrong. Not dangerous exactly, just off. When I finally got the signature and returned to the office, Daniel asked if I was feeling sick. He said I looked pale. I laughed it off, but the truth was, I spent the rest of the afternoon glancing over my shoulder, half expecting to see that man again. I left the building at 6:05 p.m., later than usual. The sky was already dark, and the industrial district felt emptier than it did during the day. Long stretches of silent warehouses, streetlights buzzing, the cold settling in. Most employees had left right at 5, so the parking lot was nearly deserted. I was halfway to the bus stop when I heard footsteps behind me. Not rushed, not casual, just matching my pace. At first, I didn't turn around. I told myself it was another late worker, maybe someone from shipping, but the longer I walked, the clearer it became. Whoever it was, they were staying the exact same distance behind me, not gaining, not falling back. I finally looked over my shoulder. It was him, the man from the hallway, the one from the warehouse aisle. Same blank stare, same stiff posture. And he was closer than I'd expected, maybe 10 meters back. For a second, we just looked at each other. My breath went tight. "Do you need something?" I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. No answer. He kept walking. I stepped backward. "Hey, stop. Seriously, what's your problem?" He stopped. The silence between us felt thick. The streetlight above him flickered, and for the first time, I noticed something. He wasn't wearing a company uniform. His jacket looked too thin for the cold, like he'd just thrown on whatever he'd had nearby. His shoes didn't match, and his expression, it wasn't confused or annoyed. It was intent. He took one slow step toward me. That broke whatever calm I was holding on to. "Stay back," I said louder this time. "I'll call security." He took another step. I didn't wait for a third. I turned and ran toward the bus stop as fast as I could, my ears filled with the sound of my own heartbeat, and behind it, unmistakably, the sound of his footsteps picking up speed. I reached the bus stop just as the bus was pulling in. I practically jumped in front of it, waving my arms like a maniac. The driver opened the doors with a startled look, but I didn't explain. I just got on and collapsed into the nearest seat. My hands were shaking so hard I had to sit on them. As the bus pulled away, I looked out the window. He was standing across the street, just outside the glow of the street lamp. Too still, too quiet. Watching the bus leave. Even when the distance grew, he didn't move. Not once. When I got home, I locked the door, then checked it twice. I called the company's HR line and left a shaky voicemail about being followed by someone on the premises. The next morning, they told me they'd look into it, but no one seemed to know who I was talking about. No new hires, no temps, no warehouse contractors matching my description. Security checked the cameras, but they said the footage from the hallway and loading area had gaps. They told me it was probably a misunderstanding, but I knew what I saw, and I knew how it felt. It's been almost 2 years, and I still think about him every time I leave work after dark. I switched departments, changed my schedule, even moved apartments, but that hollow stare follows me in ways I can't explain. The company eventually told me they found no record of anyone matching the man's appearance on staff or entering the building that day. Last month, I got a new email on my work account. No subject, no text, just a single attachment. A photo of the hallway outside the break room, taken from behind someone standing very, very still.